Hello and welcome to PMCLounge.com. My name is Shoaib. This is Lounge Fever. Lounge Fever is basically a series of videos where we try to answer your questions, your burning questions, your FAQs that you submit to us. Now, we have FAQs or Lounge Fever playlists for every single knowledge area as well. So head over to the playlist section of our YouTube channel, the PMC Lounge YouTube channel, and you will find playlist of every single knowledge area, the Lounge Fever specific playlist of every single knowledge area. And it helps you if you're studying, let's say, cost management knowledge area, and if you have certain doubt in your head and you need answer to those questions. Most likely some of our community members might already have those doubts earlier as well, and they might have asked us a question around it and we would have already created a video on it. So check out the Lounge Fever series for all these knowledge areas. Now these days, since we are covering Agile, the Agile part of PMP is now 50% Agile. So we are covering the Agile portion of PMP. These videos are also helpful for those who are preparing for their PMI-ACP exam as well. Right? So these days we tend to get more questions around Agile, and if there are questions that we think can help the larger audience, then we try to create videos on such questions rather than responding one-on-one to the person asking that question. So similarly, a question that I received today was related to Agile, and it says, "Hi, aren't changes a result of mistakes?" So basically the question here is, changes is equal to somebody might have made a mistake, and that's why we now have a situation where there is a change. Now this is the typical traditional waterfall methodology mindset, and I wanted to take this question up because I actually have a personal story related to this. So I used to work years ago, I used to work in the traditional waterfall environment. And I was once attending a change control board meeting, because of course, when you are working in the traditional waterfall environment, if there is a change, you create a change request, you take that change request, you get engineering level details of that change, or sometimes you ask your engineers to accompany you and you guys attend the change control board meeting. That's where you get questions from relevant stakeholders. The change is then approved, and then you can, go ahead and basically make that change. So changes were typically frowned upon, and I happen to have a senior member of that organization tell me that, hey, if you have a change, it basically means that someone has made a mistake. There is a mistake somewhere in your entire flow, and that's how you realize that now you need to deal with a change. And for a long time, I used to think this is correct, right? Because you have the requirements document, you have your design, and now that you're coding, you realize that there's something wrong with the design. So possibly the designer made a mistake, and that's why you have this change. Or possibly there was some mistake in the requirements document. So maybe the user, the customer, or someone who made that requirements document made that mistake. So that's something that I used to think for a long time, until I studied Agile, until I delivered projects that follow the Agile, that are basically delivered in the Agile environment. So that's when I realized that the entire mindset towards change needs to change. So changes should not be frowned upon. Changes should be welcomed, and changes are not actually mistakes. You see, when at the end of the iteration, when you're delivering working software and you're doing a demo, or you're giving it to the user to make use of it, use the working software that you have created at the end of an iteration, the user might realize that this is not what I really want. And the user might come to you and say, hey, I asked for it, right? I asked for this kind of software, but now that I use it, I think that there's a change in my requirements. I think I need something else. Let's build that something else. So when you have a mindset that you're going to welcome such changes, you're not going to go back to the user and say, hey, it's your mistake. You're not going to blame the user. You're not going to ask the user to submit a change request and head over to the change control board. You're not going to do all that. That's the agile mindset. You welcome change. Now, at the beginning, it is possible when the user gave you the requirements, the user might not have 100% knowledge and solid understanding of what he or she is looking for, because it's just the beginning of the project. Now, when you provide a working software at the end of your iteration to the customer, and it's not the complete software, it's just a working piece of code. When you provide that to the customer now has something tangible in his or her hands that the user can actually look at, the customer can actually look at and use. And that's when the customer realizes that, hey, initially when I had no idea how the end software is going to look like, I gave you certain requirements, but now I realize, now that I know more about the software, now I realize that there is a change in my requirements. So when you welcome those changes, that's what agile mindset really is. When you don't welcome those changes, when you tell the customer that, hey, we are building based on the requirements that you have given us, and now if you want something changed, oh well, now we have to deal with a change management process, right? When you don't have that kind of attitude towards changes, that's what agile mindset teaches you. So mistakes, you can say that this is a user mistake, that he didn't know everything about the software at the beginning of the project itself. You might say so. But at the same time, when you are following the agile mindset, you should be welcoming of changes rather than pointing fingers and trying to find people to put the blame on. Now, I hope you got value out of this video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon if you haven't done so already. And don't forget to check us out on our social media, as well as don't forget to check out the website pmclounge.com, your #1 free PMP resource. Thank you.